Keanu Reeves had always been known for his kindness, but one fateful afternoon, he encountered a story that would change both his life and another's forever. While walking through a quiet city park, taking a rare moment of peace away from Hollywood, he noticed an elderly man sitting alone on a worn-out bench. The man's tattered coat barely shielded him from the cold breeze, and his shoes looked like they had seen better days. Something about the man's distant gaze struck Keanu. He wasn't just resting. He looked like he had been there for years, lost in time. Keanu, ever the man of humility, decided to sit beside him. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" Keanu said, breaking the silence. The old man glanced at him and gave a small, polite nod. "Guess it is." Keanu noticed a small pin on the man's lapel, a military insignia, faded but still gleaming slightly. "You served?" The man sighed. "A long time ago. People don't care about old soldiers anymore." Keanu leaned forward, genuinely intrigued. "I do." The man, James Walker, was an 82-year-old war veteran who had once been a decorated hero. He had saved lives, fought battles most had forgotten, and carried scars, both visible and hidden. But life after service hadn't been kind. His family had drifted away, old friends had passed, and he found himself homeless with nowhere to go. Keanu listened intently as James spoke, never interrupting, absorbing every painful detail. When James finished, Keanu didn't hesitate. "Come with me," Keanu said, standing up. James furrowed his brow. "Why?" Keanu smiled. "Because heroes shouldn't be forgotten." That night, Keanu put James up in a hotel, ensuring he had warm meals and a bed to sleep in. But he didn't stop there. Keanu used his connections to reach out to veteran organizations, raising awareness about James's story. The media caught wind of it, and soon, people across the country were moved by the tale of the forgotten war hero. Donations poured in. A veterans organization stepped forward to offer James a permanent home, and most importantly, his long-lost family, who had believed him to be gone, finally found him again. On a bright morning weeks later, James stood in front of a crowd at a special ceremony held in his honor. With tears in his eyes, he looked at Keanu and said, "You didn't just listen to my story. You gave me my life back." And for the first time in decades, James Walker no longer felt invisible, all thanks to a Hollywood star who believed that every person, no matter their past, deserved to be seen. A new beginning. Despite his newfound stability, James struggled with the transition back to normal life. After years of surviving on the streets, sleeping in a comfortable bed felt foreign to him. Keanu, recognizing the difficulty of the adjustment, decided to do something more. One evening, Keanu knocked on James's door. "Hey, up for a road trip?" James chuckled, confused. "A road trip? Where to?" "You'll see," Keanu replied with a grin. They hit the road the next morning, driving out of the city and into the countryside. As they traveled, James shared more stories from his past, tales of bravery, loss, and camaraderie. Keanu listened with rapt attention, realizing just how much history had been forgotten. Their destination was a quiet, scenic town nestled in the mountains. Keanu had arranged for James to visit an old military buddy, someone he hadn't seen in over 4 decades. When they arrived, James was speechless. Standing on the porch of a cozy cabin was an old man, slightly hunched but still strong, his face lighting up with disbelief. "James," the man whispered. "Frank." James's voice cracked. The two men embraced, tears streaming down their faces. Keanu watched with satisfaction, knowing this moment was priceless. Over the next few weeks, James spent time reconnecting with Frank and rediscovering the bonds of brotherhood that war had forged but time had eroded. Keanu made sure James had everything he needed, not just a place to stay, but a purpose. James's second mission. Inspired by Keanu's kindness, James decided to give back. He started volunteering at a local veterans center, sharing his experiences with younger soldiers struggling to adjust to civilian life. His stories resonated, providing hope and wisdom to those who felt lost. Keanu, seeing how much this meant to James, decided to take things a step further. He partnered with a nonprofit to establish a program aimed at helping homeless veterans find housing, jobs, and medical care. He named it the Walker Initiative in honor of James. As the initiative gained traction, James became its ambassador, traveling to different cities, speaking at events, and ensuring that no veteran was ever forgotten again. His story, once buried in obscurity, became a beacon of hope for countless others. A full circle moment. Years later, at a grand fundraising gala for the Walker Initiative, James stood on stage, looking out at the crowd. Keanu sat in the front row, watching with pride. James cleared his throat, his voice steady despite the overwhelming emotions. "I never thought I'd be here," he said. "There was a time when I believed my life was over, that I was just another old soldier left to fade away. But one man, one incredibly kind and selfless man, reminded me that we all matter, that our stories deserve to be told. And because of him, I stand before you today, not as forgotten veteran, but as a man with purpose." Keanu stood, leading a standing ovation. James wiped a tear from his eye, smiling at his friend, the man who had not only changed his life but had given him a second chance to truly live. As the night ended, Keanu walked up to James, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "You did this," Keanu said. "You turned your story into something bigger than yourself." James chuckled. "I had a little help." Keanu smirked. "That's what friends are for." And as they stood together, two men from different worlds yet bound by kindness and fate, it was clear that this was more than just a story. It was a testament to the power of compassion, resilience, and the belief that no one // should ever be forgotten. A legacy that lives on. Even after James's passing, Keanu continued to honor his friend's memory. He expanded the Walker Initiative into an international movement, ensuring that no veteran, no matter where they lived, would ever feel abandoned. Schools and museums dedicated sections to telling stories of forgotten war heroes, inspired by James's journey. A decade later, a statue was erected in James's honor in the very park where Keanu had first met him. The plaque read, "A hero never forgotten." And every year, Keanu would visit, leaving a single white rose as a tribute to the friend who had changed his life just as much as he had changed James's. Through kindness, empathy, and unwavering dedication, Keanu had ensured that James's legacy would live on forever, proving that sometimes a single act of compassion can transform the world. And somewhere, in the vast beyond, a war hero smiled, knowing he would never be forgotten. Keanu continued to visit veteran shelters and personally fund initiatives for war heroes who had been overlooked by society. His friendship with James had ignited a lifelong mission, one that would touch the lives of thousands. The story of Keanu and James became a legend, inspiring future generations to honor and respect those who had given everything for their country.